Okay, so foundational SEO. So let's just talk about this. Content. There's a saying in SEO, content is king. Maybe not as true as it used to be. So what's changed over the last couple years? You guys know there's like 30 million new website pages every day. 30 million. So AI has created this explosion in our ability to create information. And obviously not all of it's good information. What happened, if you kind of look at it, like the content that's on the internet just had this massive spike. Did Google have the same massive spike in its ability to process content? What do you guys think? Did they keep up with that where it's like, hey, 30 million pages a day, almost overnight, and now Google's got to process it? What do you guys think? No chance, right? So now you kind of think about this as a budget. Google has what's called a crawl budget. So they have a limited amount of resources, and those resources are about what they were. I mean, they're trying to scale up and they're competing with like ChatGPT and all these other AI things. But now they're allocating and saying like, hey, I'm not going to go visit this. I'm not going to go through every page on your site unless X, Y, and Z are true. Or if X, Y, and Z are true, I'm going to spend more time on your site. I am going to be more effective with the limited amount of time that I'm willing to spend on your site, right? So Google's looking at a lot of signals to decide this. Content is a major ranking factor. It's really important. But as we saw, it's got to be helpful content, right? So good UX and UI. This still is a problem for a lot of you guys. You're on your phone and you go to a website and you ever see it where it's like, it's only showing part of it and you've got to like kind of scroll sideways to see part of a phone number. And then you scroll down and you're trying to read more information. You scroll sideways again, like that mobile part. That's going to be a penalty if that stuff's not fixed. But a lot of, themes and stuff that are available have made this a lot easier for us. Making it readable. So, when you're driving down the highway, this is kind of how we like to build our sites. When you're driving down the highway and you see a billboard and you're able to read the different things on the billboard, you can just kind of like scan it and get a pretty good idea. So you kind of want to think about your websites like this, right? Where some websites, everything is in the content, and other ones have list and check bullet list. They have headings. You can kind of quickly scan and find out what it is. Google takes that into account as good UX and UI. Also speed, right? If the page is taking too long, if there's errors, all this kind of stuff. So we're kind of getting into the technical and the site structuring of this, right? So I'm going to take you guys through backlinks in just a second. We've hinted at this in the Google Business Profile. So I'm just going to quickly jump out of this presentation here. And let's just say I do a search. I'm in South Florida. I'm in Jupiter, Florida. So if I did a search for like concrete company, Jupiter, Florida, let's look at the search results and let's kind of get an understanding. And it helps if we spell it right. Okay, let's talk about the different parts of the search results. So if we're local, it might look like this. Okay, so we have these different sections. So this is really important for you guys trying to market your business that you understand this. All right. So I'm going to make it as simple as possible. This area right here, see how it says sponsored here and sponsored here? These are paid areas. That's what sponsored means. Basically take this to think like these companies are spending money on a daily basis to show up in this area. If we go down here, we see that it doesn't say that. Okay, so let's separate this out. So this area is called the Google Guaranteed, the Google Local Service Ads. Like here's the bad part. Every part of the search results has like 5 different names. Okay. So I'm just going to like share those with you, but a lot of them mean the same. So Google Local Service Ads, people will say GLSA, which is just an acronym for that, right? Or Google Guaranteed. This area is a paid area and it requires a background check. Okay. This is a really good area to pay for because you pay per lead. So the way this works is you go through, you submit an insurance document, you submit your background check to prove like if you're on this call and you're a felon, you may not be able to do this, but perhaps somebody else in your company could submit this. After that happens, you start to get leads and you only pay for leads, which is different than these other parts. So if something comes in and it's actually a lead, then you'll say like, hey, this was a lead. In the back of Google, there's a little area. You'll say, this is a lead. If it's not a lead, you say this isn't a lead, and then Google will listen to the phone call and they'll make a ruling. And they usually will rule in your favor. Like assuming you're being honest, then it will work out fine. I don't hear a lot of complaints. It's not like Home Advisor where it's like, hey, I signed up for leads on epoxy garage floor and they sent me cabinets and then I have to fight with Home Advisor. That's not how Google works, right? If any of you guys have had that experience. Okay, so Google local service ads. This is going to get about 10 to 15% of the clicks are going to happen in this area. Now, this area may not always be available. Some niches don't have, like, it's not an option. In some cities, it's not an option. So if it is an option in your area, it's a fantastic spot to be. If people are not paying for it, this won't be here. So all these percentages are depending on what's available and what people are paying for. Okay, so now we have Google Ads, which is right here. So another like 10%. I would say if you were to total that, let me just like draw on this. These two areas typically you will get about 20%, right? This is the paid search area. 20%, that's it. So we can spend tens of thousands of dollars and we're competing for 20% of the search results. People see sponsored. They see sponsored. They're like, I don't want an ad. And they just skip right by it. Google has this kind of battle that they're constantly engaged in where they can't have it be too much paid ads. Why do you guys think that is? Can anyone type in the chat? Why can't we all go all paid ads? What would that break for Google if they did that? Anyone have any ideas? Because people can't trust people's reputation. That's right. Also, if this is based on paying and this is based on quality, and Google's goal, if we go back, is to make sure that we're serving up the best quality, then it kind of throws that off. So they can never go full ads, right? However, they do consider there's quality factors inside of these. So they're trying to choose the best quality within the ads. The people that are like, this is pay per lead and this is pay per click. So that means if somebody clicks on this, if I click on this, it might cost this guy $10 or $20. It's an auction, right? And the amount that this person pays may not be the amount that this person pays. If they have a higher quality score than this person, then they'll pay less for every click. Okay, so that's how that works. Imagine that you're an attorney, right? And your average case is worth like $10,000. Or you're a carpet cleaner and the average home that you clean is worth $200. Okay, so if it's $10,000, you'll be willing to pay more, right? We're on the same page. Okay, I'll be willing to spend $100 for a click because if one of these clicks leads to a case and that's worth $10,000, then my break-even point, like I could offset this $100. But if I was a carpet cleaner and it's $100 a click, well, like I can't do that. I'd have to close like one out of two clicks, right? If I was closing every other click, then I would just break even, right? So the cost that you pay for this is going to be determined by an auction, and what's a main factor of that auction is going to be how much other people are willing to pay. So that's Google Ads, right? It's cost per click. So if I have a $100 budget and it's $10 a click, after 10 clicks, my budget is gone and this ad will not show for today. Then it'll show again tomorrow, right? So that's how Google Ads work. Let's scroll down here a little bit. All right, so this is where SEO starts. This is where the magic is, and this is where empires are built. And if you own this area, I'm telling you, it will have a massive impact on your business, okay? So we talked about, we got 20% is happening above this line, right? That means 80% is happening down here. And this is the lion's share right here. This is the Google Maps area, okay? And this is the organic. Even though they're both like technically organic, like I said, they have different names, and it's the way it's evolved is it's confusing. So some of the names for this one, the Google Maps, Google Business Profile. It used to be Google My Business, right? This is an amazing area. And if you guys have local business, tell me this. If you guys are serving local people and you're not sure or you don't have one of these, throw it in the chat. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. I just want to know. I want to kind of like get a pulse for it. Or actually, if you do have one, say yes. And if you don't have one and you're serving local, just type into the chat no, so we can start to get an understanding. We don't serve local. I need this. So I see some no's showing up in here, so I can tell you guys how to do that. If you guys want, it's extremely valuable. And just getting the listing is the first part. Just like the ads area, there's an approval process. Because this area is so valuable, people have tried to game the system over time. And because of that, Google is fighting this kind of like cat and mouse game where they don't want to let people in here unless you're a legitimate business. So there's like proof and stuff that you have to do, but it's not as the level of scrutiny is not as high. They're not doing a background check on you for this area, right? It's not as high as the Google local service ads. Okay. All right. So 80% happening below this line, and about 40 to 50% is happening in the Google Maps, right? So you got about 25%, something like that, happening down here in the organic area. So this is huge. This is going to be the number one spot. This right here, this concrete commandos of Jupiter, these guys are getting the most clicks on the entire page, right? And if you think about this concrete company, if they're doing driveways, right? Maybe a driveway. I'm in Jupiter. Jupiter is extremely expensive city. So you could say like, hey, what is the national average? Just multiply it by 2, and that's how much things cost in Jupiter, right? So maybe this is a $15,000 or $20,000 for a driveway. So you can think like if there's 100 searches a month, maybe they're going to get 20 leads from that. And then if they close a third of those, which would be like a good concrete company, so they close a third of those, that's, let's call it 7 times 20,000, that's $140,000 in revenue, right? That could come through. There's a lot of question marks and ifs and that kind of stuff like that along the way, but you can kind of see the value, especially as the ticket price, the average ticket, right? With concrete, it's a high ticket depending on the service, but usually it's a pretty high ticket, right? And we have the organic area. So this area is based on, we set up a Google Business Profile. This is the website down here. So let's talk about some of the ranking factors. So I'd love to hear what's the difference of this and Google Business Page? The difference between what and the Google Business Page. So this is your Google Business Profile here. Is that what you mean by Google? Is this different than a business page? So a few years ago, Google had this like Google Business Page where it was like a Google domain. And I think they've completely phased that out. Is that what you mean by the Google Business Page? Yeah, so that Google Business site was replaced and it's no longer there. So this Google Business, kind of think about it like this. We've got our website, right? So we'll just put a W here. Maybe we've got a Facebook page, right? And we can connect these two to each other, right? And we can do the same thing. We've got our it's really hard to draw with this. Okay, so we've got our GBP and we connect these two with each other as well. So these two are more closely connected. And the ranking of this website actually influences the ranking of this. So this GBP is this. The website is this. So they're all connected. The Google business thing, not a thing anymore. Google phased that out. So this, you can kind of look at it. This is what they call a profile now. It's not actually a whole page. So if I were to like click into one of these, you can kind of click on the website. Hold on. It's not showing me the profile through here. You can also, this section right here, there we go. Okay. So you can kind of see we build up this profile, right? And all this information, we can add pictures, we can add questions. And this is part of what influences the ranking here. Okay. So this is huge for business.